大家好，时隔2年，伯克希尔哈萨维公司股东会再次回归线下，带你简单回顾一下2022巴菲特股东大会。在4月30日2022年度股东大会，92岁的公司首席执行官沃伦·巴菲特和98岁的副主席查理·芒格再度双双坐在主席台上，针对不少市场关注的热点问题进行了回应和解答。
Thank you. I don't hear anything from the index funds. Where are they? It really feels good to get back and be doing this in person. It's been 3 years, and it's a lot better seeing actual shareholders, owners, partners, and Charlie and I are now combined. Since we're around for fractions, the two of us are 190 years old, and I really think you're entitled, if you're the owner of a company, and you've got two guys, 98 and 91, running the company, you're entitled to actually see him in person. I mean, it really shouldn't be too much to ask that. I mean, for example, if we had a manager someplace that was 98, I might want to send somebody by occasionally to see what he was cutting about paper dolls or something. We probably do things that are a lot more foolish than cutting out paper dolls, but we're having a lot of fun doing it, and we really have a lot of fun when you come visit us. Actually, we had to go back a few years. We've had a couple of managers that suffered from dementia, probably many more, but I mean, I'm just a couple known ones actually. And there was one fellow that Charlie and I really loved, and he ran a business for us. Charlie was out in California. Charlie would see him occasionally, and I didn't see him, but everything seemed fine. And then we found out that he'd really been suffering from dementia for quite a while, and it really was a wonderful friend of both of ours. But the business had done fine, so that's become our test. Really, is that for new businesses, we try to find something the guy with Alzheimer's can run actually, and and you don't have as much competition for businesses like that. The guy sitting there cutting out paper dolls, and that's our man. I'd like to introduce two fellows who really work at Berkshire. On Charlie's left, Greg Abel, who runs all the operations outside. Yeah. And next to him is I ran the insurance business for about 15 years unsuccessfully, and then fortunately the fellow on the far left came in one day, and I've written about it, but he came in on a Saturday, and I was opening the mail, and he said that he'd be happy to run our insurance business. I said, "Have you ever run an insurance business?" And he said, "No." And as I mentioned, I said, "Well, I never won one either, so I'm not doing so hot, so give it a try." And he transformed Berkshire Hathaway, and G. Jane is here with us.
Is we will always have a lot of cash on hand. And when I say cash, I don't mean commercial paper. When 2008 and 2009 financial panic came along, we didn't own anybody's commercial paper. we believe in having cash. And been a few times in history, and will be more times in history where if you don't have it, you don't get to play the next day. I mean, it's like oxygen, It's there all the time, but if it disappears for a few minutes, it's all over. So our cash was down on March 31st because, as you saw, we spent that large sum there in that brief period during the quarter, $40 billion. We've committed to buy Allegheny Corp for something over $11 billion, but we will always have a lot of cash.
But yes, there are more difficulties of dealing with the regime in China than there are in the United States. The reason that I invested in China is I could get so much better companies at so much lower prices, and I was willing to take a little political risk to get into the better companies at the lower prices.
Now, if you told me you owned all of the Bitcoin in the world and you offered it to me for $25, I wouldn't take it, because what would I do with it? I have to sell it back to you one way or another. I mean, maybe I'll be the same people, but it isn't going to do anything. The apartments are going to produce rental, and the farms are going to produce food. And if I've got all the Bitcoin, I'm back where whatever his name was, who may or may not have existed, was 15 years ago. If I've got it all, he could create a mystery about it. But everybody knows what I'm like. I mean, so if I'm trying to get rid of it, people will say, well, why should I buy some Bitcoin from you? I mean, why don't you call it Buffett coin? Make your own or something. What? Do something. But I'm not going to give you anything for it. And you'd be right, incidentally. But that explains the difference between productive assets and something that depends on the next guy paying you more than the last guy got. Now, net, if you look at it, a lot of commissions have been paid, and there's all kinds of frictional costs that are very real that somebody has paid to a bunch of people who facilitate this game. But whatever one group of the public has taken out, or one group of owners, has come in from other people. I mean, it's other people have entered the room and they move money around, but there's no more money in the room. It just changed hands with a lot of maybe fraud and costs involved, and a whole bunch of things you lose. You forget the numbers or forget the equation.
In my life, I try and avoid things that are stupid and evil and make me look bad in comparison with somebody else. And Bitcoin does all three. And in the first place, it's stupid because it's very likely to go to zero. The second place is evil because it undermines the Federal Reserve System and the national currency system, which we desperately need to maintain its integrity and government control and so on. And third, smart enough to ban Bitcoin in China. And with all of our presumed advantages of civilization, we are a lot dumber than the communist leader in China.
Yeah, and when 25% of the people of the country get mad because we've said what we've said today, just remember Charlie spoke last and was the most...
If you had to pick one stock to bet on and be resilient in the inflation, which would you choose?
Nobody can take away from you the talent you have. The best thing you can do is to be exceptionally good at something. If you're the best doctor in town, if you're the best lawyer in town, if you're the best whatever it may be, no matter whether people are paying you with $1 zillion or paying you, they're going to give you some of what they produce in exchange for what you deliver. And whatever abilities you have can't be taken away from you. They can't actually be inflated away from you. Somebody else will give you some of the wheat they produce or cotton or whatever it may be, and they will trade you for the skill you have. So the best investment by far is anything that develops yourself. not taxed. So that's what I would do.
I got some advice for you, too. When you have your own retirement account and your friendly advisor suggests you put all the money into Bitcoin, just say no.
In the last couple of years, the stock market is it's always been a combination of a casino and when I talk about Wall Street, I'm talking about the whole capital formation market, and trading market, et cetera. But the market has been extraordinary. Sometimes it's quite investment oriented, kind of like it always you've read about in the books and everything, what capital markets are supposed to do, and you study it in school and all that. And other times it's almost totally a casino, and it's a gambling parlor, and that existed to an extraordinary degree in the last couple of years, encouraged by Wall Street, because the money is in turning over stocks. I mean, people say how wonderful you've done if you bought Berkshire in 1965 or something and held it. But your broker would have starved to death. I mean, it's Wall Street makes money on one way or another, catching the crumbs that fall off a table of capitalism and an incredible economy that nobody could have ever dreamed of a couple hundred years ago. But that they don't make money unless people do things, and that they get a piece of them. And and they make a lot more money when people are gambling than when they're investing. I mean, it's much better to have somebody that's going to trade 20 times a day and get all excited about it, just like pulling the handle on a slot machine. That's who you. You may not say that you'd want that person. You'd like the other kind of person too, maybe, but that's where you make the money.
It's almost a mania of speculation that we now have. We have computers with algorithms trading against other computers. We got people that know nothing about stocks being advised by stockbrokers who know even less.
I understand the commissions.
Yeah, it's just an incredible, crazy situation. And it's weird that we ever got a system where all this equivalent of casino activity is all mixed up with a lot of legitimate long-term investment. I don't think any wise country would have wanted this outcome. Why would you want your country's stocks to trade on a casino basis to people who are just like the people who play craps and roulette in the casino?
Find out what you love doing it. You spend most of your life doing it, and why in the world would you want to be around for a lifetime working with people that you didn't like unless you had to, which sometimes happens, and work for whomever you admire the most?
Figure out what you're bad at and avoid all of it. Two things that neither one of us has ever succeeded. One, we've never succeeded at anything that didn't interest us, right?
Right.
And we've never succeeded at anything that was really hard where we didn't have much aptitude for it.
Yeah, and we've been doing whatever we please. We have fun in our way. And
I'm just amazed. You'd think if you're smart, you could do things that don't interest you well, but you can't.
And inflation, I should say, swindles the bond investor too. It swindles the person who keeps their cash under their mattress. It swindles almost everybody. The problem, if you have a business that doesn't take any capital, dollar depreciates 90% or something, so things cost 10 times as much. If it doesn't take any capital, you can charge 10 times as much, and you've kept your relative position. But most businesses take some capital. If our utility business, just say that the dollar is worth 1/10, we have to have 10 times the capital investment, basically. And we get paid a return on that. But we have forced capital investment to essentially keep them in the same place. And
Charlie? He's thinking.
Sure, there are a lot of things in life way more important than wealth. All that said, some people do get confused. I play golf with a man, he says, "What good is health? You can't buy money with it."
The money makes very little difference after a moderate level. I tell this to college students that I talk to. I mean, they are basically living about the same life I'm living. We eat the same foods. I mean, that I can guarantee you. And there's no important difference in our dress. There's no important difference at all in the car we drive. There's no difference in the television set that we sit there and, watch the Super Bowl on or anything. Almost everything, so any importance in daily life, we equate on. The one thing I do is I travel a lot better than they do. Then you get down to the things of health and who loves you. Everybody in this room has that, and yet some of the people, by the definition that you've given, are obviously much more wealthy than others, and it's not measured by their net worth if you define it that way. And I don't disagree with that definition. I might not use the term wealth in describing it, but I'd certainly maybe call it well-being or something of the sort.
If you're looking at it from one side, it looks like a rabbit, and if you look the other way, it looks like you're looking at a duck. And the mind flips from one side to another. They call it ambiguous illusions or something of the sort. When you have all kinds of things going on in your mind, and they go on for years, and they sit there and get lost, and then all of a sudden, you see something different than what you were seeing before. Now, it took me in stocks, and I had a decent IQ, and I was reading and thinking, and it was important to me to make some money on it. And then I read a paragraph, actually, in Chapter 8, I think it was, of The Intelligent Investor. It told me that I wasn't looking at the duck, I was looking, now it was the rabbit. I mean, it changed my life. It happens a few times in your life. And all of a sudden, you see something important. Maybe it's learning how to get along with people. I mean, whether actually it's better to be kind or not. If you want the world to love you, what you have to do, that's what Charlie's, when he was in the law practice, every smart guy that would get in trouble, every now and then it produces some insight. It's better actually if it produces insight into your behavior than whether it produces insight to make money.
以上就是2022巴菲特股东大会带来精彩发表。对于巴菲特离开后伯克希尔的未来会怎样这一投资者关心的问题，在股东大会上，巴菲特称没有理由担心他离任后公司何去何从，因为伯克希尔会永远保留将股东摆在首位的文化。他强调企业文化的重要性。一个公司必须要了解，企业文化占公司运作的99%。如果我们有同样的文化，我们从现在开始还会存在100年。不得不说，两位接近200岁的人还在投资上坚守岗位，确实是非常令人敬佩。希望两位往后每年能继续为我们带来更多的金玉良言。今天的视频就分享到这里，喜欢我们的视频，记得点赞、关注以及分享出去，让更多人观看。大家也可以订阅我们的 YouTube 频道，里面有一些之前创作的旧视频。
有问题吗？没有。